Hi guys, hope you're all doing well. Today we're taking a look at the PC version of Modern Warfare and more specifically some impressions, feedback and constructive criticism of the new 64-player Ground War game mode. Now Call of Duty has a certain formula that it does well, and Ground War offers up some of that feel in a slightly different package, but it's still really fast paced and lots of players will love that. I generally enjoyed what I played of this chaotic battle scenario, and I can see it being a mode that I play a lot at launch, as it truly is a new and exciting element for Modern Warfare. A new type of gameplay, if you will. It's much more freeform and allows for a sandbox style experience that COD usually doesn't deliver. However, there are a few things that need addressing and things that I would change to push it up into a great experience. And remember, these are just my opinions and are subjective, so you may well disagree, and that's okay. Also, this video is sponsored by Activision. A big thank you to them, and if you want to check out the game for yourself, there's a link down in the description below. So then, as someone who has played many Battlefield games, the idea of a large-scale mode with combined arms in a modern Call of Duty game is a really tantalizing proposition for me, and so as soon as it was available, I hopped right in to give it a go. There was only one map available in the open beta, and it was a large map, much larger than most of the Call of Duty maps that you'll be used to, and it has 5 capture points or flags. You then go into squads of 4 players and you can spawn on flags, squad mates or APCs, and there are fully controllable light assault vehicles, quad bikes and transport helicopters too. The map is called Karst River Quarry. There's a large quarry area that acts as one of the flags, and big warehouses and buildings which most of the fighting will take place in. There's a ton of detail here. There's also a surprising amount of verticality, and you can get up to or on top of most of the rooftops and on the high towers that overlook the map. I found myself fighting over the C flag in the middle for a big portion of the game because you just seem to be drawn to it. And as I mentioned, this is a mode for 64 players, so you've got to have your head on a swivel. There are lots of angles to worry about at any one moment, as you would expect in any large-scale mode, but because the time to kill is so fast, you really have to think about your movements in between cover. I would like to see the 3 points in the middle spread out just a little bit more though. So the hot topic, kill streaks. Some people will say that without kill streaks it's not Call of Duty and they absolutely need to be there, and others will say that they don't really suit the Ground War game mode, so it depends what side of the fence you sit on. The thing for me is that in your typical 6v6 or 10v10 COD game mode, you only really have to worry about a small amount of players getting high kill streaks, but with 32 players on each team, there's a lot of potential for the enemy team to have constant rewards, and of course your own team too. The personal UAV and team UAV is especially frequent, which makes flanking quite frustrating and almost impossible at times. If you played Ground War in the beta, you were basically on the minimap at all times. The Ghost perk can help of course, but I feel like perks should be a choice and not a necessity. In Ground War, they really are a necessity. If you're not running Ghost, you're at a distinct disadvantage. And regardless of this, with the amount of UAV spam, you are constantly supplied with intel on enemy players, and the HUD can get really messy. And this feels counterintuitive to the design of the game to me. So what are the solutions to this? Well, if I were in control, I would remove kill streaks entirely from Ground War. I think it would just be a much better overall experience without them, and you'd get to enjoy the brilliant gunplay and movement in a more tactical game mode. And I think that that would offer up some really satisfying moments. If I was being a bit more liberal and had to compromise, I'd say kill streaks were still allowed, but they take double the kills to achieve, so they aren't spammed anywhere near as frequently. But let me know down in the comments what you would do. Are you happy with how it is at the moment, or would you like to see it changed? What about those vehicles then? Well, they spawn at your base or gimme flag, and getting in and out of vehicles is quite quick. There are no prolonged animations here. The IAV and the APCs can take out infantry incredibly easily, and the splash damage is huge. In the games that I was in, there really wasn't very much in the way of anti-tank to worry about at all. In fact, most of the times that I died driving one of these, it was due to an enemy team vehicle rather than infantry players trying to take me out. I do think though that that's something the player base would come to learn in time, and you'd see more people carrying rocket launchers in this game mode. On release, Ground War could be filled with players who enjoy the mode, and they could easily switch to a loadout with a rocket launcher if they wanted to. I just don't think COD players are in that mindset just yet, which is perfectly understandable. I do have a couple of issues with the vehicles though. There's a clunkiness to them and the controls need refining. Turning seemed very unresponsive, especially in the APC. And I also noticed no option for a larger field of view while in vehicles, which was quite surprising. I found them to be way too far zoomed in when in the driver's seat, but much better when you operate it as a gunner. There's no dedicated first person mode for them either, which is a shame. In terms of damage though, the IAV could literally one-shot a full HP infantry player, which led to some frustrating deaths, impossible to react to. And you often found players camping in these on the high hillsides of the quarry with full uncontested overview of the map, going 50 kills for 1 death. On top of this, if you did manage to take out an armoured assault vehicle, there didn't appear to be any spawn delay at all, so someone could just jump right back in one and go again if they wanted to. I feel they are too strong at the moment in ground war at least. Transport choppers could do with a health buff too, and the controls were basic. Sometimes the helicopter appeared to have a mind of its own and didn't respond to my inputs. Some definite tweaks needed to the vehicle play for sure. Next up, let's talk about the spawn system. I don't think it's in a great place right now, especially in ground war. Often I found myself spawning in front of, behind and even in and amongst enemies, which isn't ideal. It definitely needs some placement tweaks so that players aren't spawning in the middle of a road or as part of a large group of enemies. That's just not fun. Thankfully, Infinity Ward have said that they are aware of inconsistencies with the spawning, and fingers crossed that they'll improve it before launch. Something else I noticed was that your player model appears to be in the game before you have control of it. So the camera would zoom in from the deployment screen, but during that time period you can be seen and shot at by enemy players. I noticed this a few times on death cams. Also, you can totally camp the deployment spawn from some of the larger buildings. Not a good look, and something needs to be done about that. Another thing that I really missed from Ground War was team play, and yes, I understand that team play isn't exactly a big staple of COD anyways, unless you look to the more smaller competitive game modes, but it does feel very much like you run around on your own. Perhaps I should just put my hand up and say that's just how COD is, or maybe adding the revives from the cyber attack game mode could be a good addition here. Ground War mode did suffer from a bit of stuttering too, mostly when spawning in. It is a beta, so hopefully these things can be fixed before launch, and it seems as though they are aware of the problems based on what they've said on Reddit and Twitter. Other issues I noticed were a weird aim down the sight lag. It's hard to explain, but when you ADS on PC, it doesn't always feel smooth. It's almost like it isn't playing the animation at the full frame rate of the rest of the game. At first I thought it was just me, but others seem to have had similar issues, so hopefully that can get fixed. Visibility is a topic of discussion too. There's been quite a few complaints of enemies being really difficult to see in dark rooms, and Infinity Ward have already commented that they're looking at the problem, and this was after last week's beta, so they are definitely aware of this one. And finally, in Ground War, the announcer never shuts up because there's always a flag being taken or a kill streak being called in, and after a while it does get a bit annoying and tiresome. So if I could turn that off, or it could be toned down, that would be great. I couldn't see an option to turn it off in the audio settings, but maybe I missed that one. Let me know. In conclusion, I feel like Ground War has a lot of potential. I found it fun at its core, and it truly offered something new for Call of Duty. But I think with a few tweaks and changes, it could become a staple of the franchise. I just hope that Infinity Ward continue to support the mode after release and regularly drop new maps and support for it. There are rumours of 6 Ground War maps to begin, and I'm excited to dive into all of them soon. It could be something special, but I think that Infinity Ward need to take some bold stances with this game mode and adjust some of the gameplay mechanics in this game mode compared to the main game so they work better with 64 players. Are they prepared to do that though? I don't know. Obviously parity between game modes is an important thing, but we've seen them disable things like the UAV and kill streaks in game modes like Gunfight, so it's not out of the realms of possibility just yet. Now then, wrapping up for today, I just wanted to touch on some PC specific settings. Being a PC player at heart, I have to say that the performance of the beta was really good. I was getting great frame rates on high settings across the board, not including that small stuttering issue that appeared on the 3rd day. And there are all of the settings that you would expect or need for a PC version, including ADS sensitivity, VSync FOV slider, mouse smoothing, and an inbuilt frame limiter. It's quite similar to the way that Black Ops 4 was done on PC, and that was a really great version of the game. So it gets my approval there. And finally, check this out. I'm not sure if you knew this already, but when climbing a ladder, if you've got a small secondary weapon like a pistol, you actually hold it in one hand, so you can still shoot it if you're in an emergency. I just thought this was a nice little touch. And if you hold a grenade, whether that's a frag or a tactical, don't hold the frags for too long though, you can still actually shoot at the same time with one hand. There are lots of these little gunplay and movement touches in this game that show Infinity Ward have put a lot of thought into player interaction, and I respect that. With that said, that's all for today, folks. Do let me know your thoughts on Ground War down in the comments below. One thing I forgot to mention actually was that I think crossplay is working quite well, and also you can put C4 on Jeeps and drive them into cars, so that's always good fun. Let me know your thoughts on the game mode down in the comments though. How do you feel about it? Liking it? Loving it? Do you agree with me? Disagree? Let's hear it. And if you liked this video, do leave a like, thank you. If you didn't like it, dislike it, subscribe for more, hit the bell for all notifications, and I'll see you in the next one.